All right, so let's take a look at one of the all-time greats, Paul Morphy, and we're going to take a look at Philidor's defense, the Philidor defense. So when we're on chessgames.com, Malcolm, you said you want to take a look at it from the white side, right? And
Yep.
then we can also look at it from the black side. And we're seeing that Harrwitz liked it a lot. Hmm. Yeah, he lost to Harrwitz and then he didn't lose again after that. He beats him 3 times in a row. So we can look at it from both sides. Um, but let's see. So he won in 35 moves and then 48 moves. And he also had a blindfold. Simon won twice, then he beat Harwitz again. At that time, Harwitz lasted longer, 59 moves. So let's see his first win over Harwitz. I don't know too much about that match. That'll be interesting to see. And let's look at his games again through the perspective of, okay, to what degree was he playing positional chess way back in the, mid 19th century? To what degree was it positional, and to what degree was it different from the typical quote romantic era chess? So just what's unique about his style? What allowed him to win these games so successfully? Okay, so e4, e5, knight f3, d6, d4. So after Philidor's defense, best thing to do is basically to break with d4. You can go bishop c4 if you want. D4 takes, queen take. That's interesting. That's not something I usually see. Of course, the knight takes d4 is natural. So I guess he's ready to pin, right? That's an interesting way of going. Rapid development. It's kind of like with a center game. You take with your queen, but then you have to go to e3. This is actually more comfortable than this. Center game is e4, e5, d4 takes, and the queen tucks back. That's not quite as sound. But here it makes a lot of sense. It's like a Roy Lopez, actually. You have to be willing to give up your bishop for the knight, but you're getting rapid development. So this way he doesn't even Harwitz doesn't waste time with a6. He just says, okay. He just says, I'm gonna unpin myself. If you want to take, I'll take it back and not even double my pawns. He does take though, but you can see Morphy's following this style of really quick development. He's got 3 out versus 1. Okay, f6, that can't be healthy. Beautiful position already out of the opening, right? Given the bishop pair, so what? You're going to work your knights against the bishop. He's probably never going to have any time to use his bishop pair, right? Bishop on f8 stuck in there. One second. Okay, knight h6, c3, queen d7, castle's kingside. No need to even go like in his famous opera box game. He does go queenside, but that made a lot of sense since the d file was already open. Here, he just plays nice and tight. Castle's kingside, almost a provocation. It looks like for his opponent to go g5, which does look
But it
dubious.
also looks like he has exerting control over f5. Like he could push his f pawn maybe, and
With the rook already behind the f pawn. Yeah,
I'm looking at
oh,
black.
oh,
I mean
for black to do
specifically.
f5. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
and
now of
then
course, if he does it too soon, White's just going to be very happy to take, to open up the E file. Maybe he castles, then he'll have to go
yeah,
b8 to get off the line of fire. I mean, of course, it's interesting. I
right.
think it's kind of a provocation because he probably thinks his opponent's going to go g5. He's like, I can handle g5. I go bishop g3. You go g4. I wrap my knight around, and you're opening up. Well, also f6 will be hanging. So he just goes bishop e7. Now probably intending g5 soon. Can't even do it here either because the knight would, he'll open up the diagonal. It's pinned. So he just castles. Fine. So White's got to be at least a little bit better out of this position. Both king side, but think about some of the advantages for White. What do you guys notice? What's good about White's position for Morphy?
Got
White's
control
queen.
of the. Oh, go ahead. I'm
I was,
sorry.
yeah, I was gonna say White's queen is pretty centralized. And also the rook is on the open file facing Black's queen. And White just has really good control of the board.
Yep,
Like,
half open D file pressure. So the D
Hmm.
pawn's pinned. I mean, that could actually be relevant because the pawn could push. Um, and then what else? Beautiful. Actually, yeah, we like to have a centralized queen. We like it when our queen out is. We like her to be out there as long as she's not going to be attacked too much, right? But nobody can actually bother our queen right now. So she's well placed in the center as he wanted to do, and that allowed him to get his rook to d1 very quickly. So in the other game, in the opera box game, he goes queenside and immediately gets his rook to d1. Here he gets his rook to d1 just because his queen is cleared. And he's got what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out in castle. His opponent has 4 out in castle. What else? Leia or Dave? Dave, you guys were going to say
Uh,
something? Leia?
uh, White doesn't have any hanging pieces, and they all seem to be more integrated as a unit. Whereas it feels like with Black's pieces, they're not hanging, but they don't seem to be, they don't form a cohesive unit, and black has the knight and on the side, which isn't great, and there's not really, well, I mean, there are places it could go, but it's not anywhere particularly useful. And the
Mhm.
bad bishop that's just stuck for the foreseeable future. I mean, it may come out later, but now it's just stuck.
Exactly. Yeah. Very bad bishop there in the
Uh,
middle. And Malcolm. Who else? Oh, Dave was going to say.
Dave, yeah, I see a couple things. One is I think if I'm black, I'm going to try to put pressure on the e4 pawn. I expect white to play e1 to defend that and control that file. Also, potentially jump your knight to, if I'm white, jump your knight to d5. It's just a good outpost, basically. I mean, maybe white would trade off their bishop for the knight, but that comes with check, and you lose a drop a pawn. You drop your b pawn that way potentially
Exactly.
if they
Potentially. You might have
retake.
like rook
So
d8, but yeah, but you know,
yeah,
it's a yeah, it's some a possibility in this position. And
yeah,
and
I
also he'd have to give up his good bishop, and he's left with a bad bishop on e7.
right. So I don't think that'll happen. So I think he'd probably take that outpost on d5. Um, I think it'll be interesting to see what, if anything, happens on the queen side here because most of the hardware is kind of over on the king side. So I could see potentially starting to push your A, B, and C pawns if I'm white or
It's
black.
there. Yeah, it's there for you. You know, sometimes you'll play on both sides. But yeah, there's no knockout, right? His opponent didn't allow Morphy to open the center anyway. So there's not a knockout yet. This is interesting. So we'll see how he plays. It's going to have to be a little subtle, maybe. We'll see about that. But yeah, he has beautiful development. You guys are getting at the great piece coordination that Morphy has here. Yeah, you hit all the main points, I think. You have to watch out for there's potential pressure on e4 pawn, but you can always go rook fe1. Sometimes he could push to e5. He probably doesn't mean to waste time moving his f pawn, but that can always come in the future if the knight moves. You can always bust stuff open with like, f4 and e5 or something, or f4 f5. And the knight's really badly placed on h6. Plus, Dave, as you're alluding to with the whole queen d5 check, that's because of f6. So f6 gets in the way of the dark squared bishop, opens up the king, and that's interesting too. We'll see whether he decides to go after some queenside stuff. And let me just pause recording for a second. So let's see how he proceeds. All right. So we have queen c4. He goes for the queen check. Interesting. Sidesteps
Wow.
the b file. We're seeing additional pressure against the queen. Well, that could be a central breakthrough potentially.
That's interesting.
Or
I did not
she,
expect that.
yeah, that he would do it right away, right? You thought maybe he'd kind of reserve that for the right moment. Well, now he's allowing the knight to go to d4. Very interesting. That's a beautiful square on e6 as well. Looking at c6, e6, and hey, you have the f4 pawn bush. So he has so many options available to him now. Okay, that's a good move by Harrwitz. Good attempt to go to e5. He allows him to go there. Very interesting. He just had such a deep understanding, right? Most people are like, oh, he wants to go there. I don't know. I have to stop him or something. I mean, knowing that you want to restrict your opponent, but he allowed it. Let's see what he has in mind. He tucks his queen back to the center. So I think so. He was like, look, I don't need my queen on d4. I actually want my knight there. And I guess, well, now that the knight's on e5, he can play f4 whenever he wants. Okay, there you go. There's the provocation, right? So g5 has been played. Now look at black's position. It's just really, the knight came in the game though. I'll have to give him that. And by playing g5, he at least temporarily gets to stay there because you don't take back with the pawn. If you play f4, bishop takes back. But the black king is going to be really stripped of his protection. Okay, rook goes to g7. So a good attempt. If he's playing against a weaker player, Harrwitz would get something going, but not against Morphy. Oh, look at that square. So he doesn't care about e6 anymore. He's like, well, that's a juicy square. He's just giving him on f5. But it's quite interesting. Morphy's not going for the kill on the king side just yet. He's kind of working through the center. That could cascade over to the king side, but he can play across the board here. Notice that subtle advantage of the e4 pawn versus the d6 pawn. A little more space in the center. That makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Makes a really big difference though.
What do you make of Horwitz's G7 move. That looks like a bad move given that F5 was available, right?
Yeah, he's coming in
I
anyway,
guess
but he's trying something. He's lifting his rook. He's just it's a crude, very crude attack.
I see.
And you see
He's
Morphy's
trying to
attack
lift
is
his
far more
rook to,
sophisticated. What's that?
yeah, he's trying to lift his rook, I guess, to get it on the
Yeah,
H
he's hoping.
file so that he can,
Can't even
yeah,
go there though. Well, some of my students, I said
yeah,
some of my students, he's playing hope chess, right? It's really just hope chess for Harwitz. I
yeah,
mean, he's getting outplayed, he's outclassed. So he's trying stuff. But see, this is a crude attack that might work against, like, let's say today's equivalent of like 1800 or something. But against a really strong master, the best in the world, it's not going to work. And you see, little by little, Morphy's just improving his pieces. So actually, quite positional. His play is quite positional, right? Central control, a little more space than his opponent, provocation of weaknesses, embedding his knight, and he's got a beautiful outpost. So little by little, right? Little by little, he's
yeah.
making gains.
There's the F pawn break.
There's your F pawn push, right? And so it's interesting because it looks kind of scary. You're opening up the G file, right? But in opening up the G file, also he's losing his G pawn, and Morphy can handle it, right? Okay, actually, Laksha's coming in. Let Laksha come in here. So, yeah, Laksha's coming in from Delhi, from New Delhi. So, hey, Laksha, is your volume working? You could join this class if you want. We're looking at Paul Morphy. Can you hear me? So this is beautiful. He just showed such, superior understanding, similar to Fischer in his time. He's so confident, right? He knows that he can allow the rook to kind of do what it wants, right? The rook wanted to open up on the G file. And he's like, look, I'm not even taking back with the bishop. I'm not worried about my bishop because my knight's comfortably guarding him. Pawn guards knight, knight guards bishop. I could swing the rook. I'm the one who's going to exploit the king side, not you. But you can see how it switches very quickly from central play to kingside play after the provocation. The moment G5 was played, Morphy's looking to open that up. So ultimately, as you said, Dave, here comes F4. F4 was critical. So he's got everything he wants, right? We'll see whether he ends up popping his knight on D5. He can do that whenever he feels like it, right? Maybe he will wait on that. We'll see. Can maneuver as well. Okay, well, let's look at H7. That's a focal point. We can simply go Queen H5 and mate him if he doesn't do anything. Okay, now he's chopping that knight. Now that's an interesting decision too, right? A lot of us wouldn't do that. Why are you giving up the bishop for the knight? You can, I guess, do it whenever you want. There's got to be a good reason for it, though. It's not like you're winning a pawn or something. So why do you guys think he did that?
I think he wanted to move the knight on F5. I think he wanted to move the knight on F5, but he couldn't move the knight because it was protecting the bishop. So
that's possible too. Just so this you see as the swiftness of his play, right? So if you want, let's see if he moves it. He's back. Oh,
no.
There's another thing. F file.
Yeah.
So he chooses which files he wants open and how he does it, right? So he says, okay, you can have the half open G file, but I'm doing my rook lift and I'm hitting you on the H file. And then now I've got the fully open F file and I'm there to exploit it. Okay, so knight comes into B5. Interesting. Again, he makes a lot of unexpected moves. He just has this really deep understanding. Like I'm not thinking about knight B5 right now. Are you? I mean, he's looking at C7, but it can get taken. That did not occur to me as among my primary candidate moves. Did it for you guys?
No.
It's kind of,
well, he's threatening the fork.
He is threatening a fork, but like it looks crude, right? Because like, well, okay, you can easily guard it with something, or but what? Well, rooks, yeah, I guess you can maybe take it.
Actually,
but it can take it if he wants. I guess he wants the bishop to take it, saddling black with the bad bishop. So you can see I think the question's already getting answered in terms of his positional play. And this is something I was thinking about recently. I had a discussion with Paul Swaney about this. He said that some masters, I think even a grandmaster, said that some of these early players would be like maybe a low level master today, like a 2200 or maybe even down to like a 1900 FIDE or something. Like, come on, especially like a guy like Paul Morphy, Capablanca, Alekhine, some of those early ones, they would do just fine today. I mean, just look at the precision of his play the way he outplayed people, the way he exploited weaknesses, the way he coordinated pieces. I mean, he can catch up on modern chess, but he was an outlier. The outliers, it doesn't matter if they're not born in the 2010s or in the aughts. If you have a genius mind like this for chess, it doesn't matter what era. But you can just see the way in which he outplayed this guy. So let's see what's going on with knight b5. But clearly he's okay with the bishop taking. Queen could take. And notice that everything is very comfortable over here. Also,
his A pawn is unprotected.
Exactly. He can take. I guess he's fine with that because, well, think about also where he wants black's pieces to be. He wants the queen to go away from the king side. That's a typical decoy idea. He wants to take c7, and also he's happy if the bishop takes because then the bishop will also relieve the pressure there. Hold on a second. Will relieve the pressure there, and also there's no bishop that can ever take the knight. Sorry. So after knight b5, queen goes to g8. Interesting. Well, I mean, there's this pressure on g2, but is there any way to increase the pressure? Actually, yeah, he wants to take on b5. So he is creating the threat of taking on b5 right now to decoy the queen. That wouldn't be too pleasant. So he says, okay, let's just make the nice calm rook f2, cover everything. But you see, he's so calm, so confident in this play, right? Based on his superior understanding, all of his pieces are basically better. Okay, the rook and queen look nice, but simply with rook f, queen was already there. Now with rook f2, he puts an end to any fantasies that Harrwitz might have against the g2 pawn, right? There's no move with the bishop. The other bishop is biting on granite. Okay, that's interesting. So he actually doesn't even defend his c pawn. I mean, there's just nothing. It's nothing really easy to do because you can't really cover on at g7. If you go to f7, you walk into like a knight, discovery. Rook c8, you run to knight takes a7. So there's really no good way to defend it. And knight takes c7. Okay, he gets some liberation he was liberate the rook a little bit, but it doesn't really matter. There's your knight d5. Interesting. So he makes the decision. He's like, okay, if my opponent goes like this, he obviously saw this. I'm sure he planned for this. He's like, okay, well, they can make me go to d5. So essentially what we're doing is we're trading we're getting the c pawn for the e pawn. But he really wants to get rid of that bishop, as you can see, because that bishop is the guardian of all those light squares. Gets rid of the bishop pair, but remember, it leaves him with an uncontested knight. If we can get an uncontested bishop or an uncontested knight, that tends to be good. Now, black has an uncontested dark squared bishop, but that doesn't matter, right? He's just passively defending. But we have an uncontested knight. No one's touching that knight. You can always go g4 if you want to anchor it. No one's touching that. And that knight's beautifully placed. So I would say this is a winning position. It's positionally winning. 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. You're also up a pawn, but even without the pawn up, give black the c7 pawn back. Positionally, it's winning. But he has a pawn to boot, which is pretty nice because he has 4 against 3. Now let's see. He did do some stuff on the queen side, David, as we were talking about. There you go. c4. Beautiful play. Securing this d5 pawn. You can always play b4 later on. Okay, rook h5 gets out of the way, no problem. No one's look at that. But you notice like Leia was talking about earlier, he had the piece coordination. Throughout the game, he's maintaining the piece coordination, right? Queen e8. Oh wow, look at that, man. This is crazy. This could have been played this could be played today, right?
Yeah.
This could be played today, and I'd be like, wow, this is a really strong game. This guy understands modern chess really well. I didn't even know that because we're exploring this some other games that I haven't even seen yet. But it's very self-explanatory in some ways. So, well, actually, we're gonna have to see what he has in mind. But once he shows it to you, you'll know. So he wants to decoy. Okay, he wants the rook to go here, and then he sets up a sack. Now we're gonna have to find out why it matters that the rook left the 7th rank. Okay, well, that's one less defender that he has. Okay. After this one, I'm pause again. Okay. So, okay, so let's see what he does. So he sacks it. He gets the queen check. Now, due to the knight covering the g7, h6 square, the knight goes back. Then now you see the whole combo coming to fruition, right? See the difference? If that had been on c7, it wouldn't have worked, right? The queen's overloaded.
Still don't see it. I don't see the.
Okay, so he wants to ultimately he's really going after, he's opening up the king more. and he's going after the bishop and the rook. He's targeting those pieces. So you see now he's looking at both the rook and the bishop. Before the rook was covering the bishop. Now
Right, and the queen's defending both, and so take your pick. So he's going to win his rook back.
he's cashing in. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pawns versus 4 pawns. We're tearing open the king. And when you take here, it's a fork, right? So you actually have the same number of pieces. But hey, win however you can. If you get a mate, fine, take the mate. If you're up a pawn with a raging attack on the king, it's not an instant win, I don't think. If the queen takes, it looks pretty bad. No, that's pretty bad. Well, look, for example, queen takes check. He can go queen g7. He's not getting mated right now. It's not a mate, but it's totally crushing. He can like take d6 or something, or he can probably trade queens, but he'll do some more damage before he trades queens. You know?
Yeah.
He'll be swinging his queen in, bringing doing a rook lift and all that. So yeah, you can see like here check. We probably have you can toss in this check or queen e8. Yeah, you're gonna get a rook lift very quickly. That's gonna be over. You're gonna probably win the queen. Let's see. Let's say we go like this. Our rook will make it to h5. Just I see that. They can check. They run out of checks, right? There are no diagonal checks that work. Then the rook h5 is just so something like that. He has multiple wins. I think that's one of them. So he decides to allow the trade. He actually doesn't even take the rook. His attack is so strong. He wants to keep attacking him, unless he's going to repeat once. Nope. Amazing. So then he takes this one, but now he has a combo where he actually. You see why this one works?
He sacrifices his rook. I mean his knight. I don't see that. Oh, because then the queen is the rook's pinned to the queen. The black rook is pinned to the queen.
That's nice, huh? So he's able to take the pawn, decoying the queen. And by the way, that d5 pawn, which gives a space, keeps the queen out of
yeah.
Right. Oh, that's the end of it. That's the end of it. He cashed in.
After this.
What else is he gonna do? I mean, let's say he goes like this. No, you're taking with check though. So that's brilliant, right? Rather than you're so precise. Rather than taking this, queen takes 6 1, 2, 3. Actually, funny enough, he wouldn't even be doing that great if he goes into that endgame. See, right now it's not as good. Well, if you trade here, you're up a pawn. You're up.
Yeah, but your D pawn's going to follow. You can't. Well.
Yeah, it's not that simple. I mean, you can go
tie your rook,
but it's still winning. It's still probably a win, but you have a lot of work to do. Oh wow, here's true.
I don't know if it's winning, honestly, because black looks pretty strong too.
I mean, he is up a pawn, and those are 2 connected pass pawns.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I see.
Yeah. So it's still probably a win. You can go like this. You can go engine. Yeah, I think because they're
I see it now.
That's a big asset. It's not. I don't know. It's done. Oh, that's funny. It actually sees a way to hold. Yeah, I mean, I think it would be very difficult to hold this for black, but I don't know. I mean, maybe black can like push and get the rook. You know, push and get the king into e5 and try to win the d pawn. But and then hopefully do that before white's pawns go. And if he gets that pawn, well, then black also has 2 connected pass pawns. So maybe that's what it's seeing. So anyway, he doesn't want to go into that though, right? You'd rather not go into that line, and you'd rather do a combo to just totally crush your opponent. So that's beautiful though. He goes here. So black is attempting this, going for this endgame, which wouldn't be as clear. But then he keeps the knight for a second. Then he coughs it up in order to, pseudo sacrifices the knight, and it's game over. Can't even protect the rook, and you'll take with check, and that's game. Up a knight, about 10.
Why couldn't the rook go back one more move?
Because the pin. So the queen.
Oh, right, because of the pin. That's right.
He can't guard the rook, and the rook can't take. He can check.
Right.
And he's out of checks. So he's just so tight. I mean, it was really perfection in that game. I mean, we could put in the end. We might find a couple moves, but that was really, it looked like a perfect win. I mean, just so smooth. Such a smooth.
I put
What's
it
that?
into Stockfish and it said that there was only one inaccuracy on Morphy's part.
What was the so what was the cent upon loss or the accuracy percentage?
For Morphy, 10 cent upon loss, and for Harrowitz, 37.
Yeah, 10 cent. That's pretty good. 10 cent upon loss. And it got a little complicated, especially it got a little bit complicated too, like around this time, there maybe the computer found some other moves it preferred around here instead of F4, maybe build or whatever. But look, he just understood it so well. He knew that there was no way to undermine his position. It's like, okay, I can fearlessly allow that rook to open. I'm not afraid of that. It's not going to do anything to me. And then certain decisions, like I don't know if I wouldn't be inclined to take the knight right away. That wouldn't be my first thought, right? But you're giving up. I mean, the knight is pretty good though. That's doing the most right now for black. But the main thing is he can't take back with the D pawn because the queen is pinned, right? And if you take with the F pawn, only option, well then rook F1 opens up the F file. Sorry, takes the open file, and all of white's pieces are doing really, really well. And then that's an interesting move too. Again, that didn't occur to me at first because it looks like a crude move. Like, oh, I'll just defend C7. But he's provoking the bishop to take because he has that understanding of what pieces are going to be left and how they're going to favor white. We're left with the queen and a beautiful knight. Rooks are, our rook's a little better than theirs, partially because the bishop is in the way of the rook on A8. So you could take the we could take the F file. Now he's on the G file, we're in the H file, kind of cancels out. But we got to do more, as you saw, against H7 than he got to do against G2 after simply lifting the rook to F2. Yeah, and C4. And that's really nice. Just very calm, right? C4, that was a very important pawn on D5 that ended up leading to the final combo. And then he gives away the pawn. Now, an interesting thing is that he can't take with the rook or the pawn. He takes with the rook, and it's a really complicated line that's not obvious from the start, right? He has a nice long combo. So he started, this is the beginning of the combo. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then on the fifth move, you would take the rook. Or if you do half moves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 half moves. So a pretty nice combo. But the other thing is I can't really take here because that's game over. Check. That's game. Or the rook's hanging. I don't know if there's a mate immediately, but you just take the rook and game over, right? So that was really beautifully done. Nicely executed. But all of his pieces are just better. And there you go. Tactics flow from a superior position, certainly superior position. Here come the tactics, a lot of weaknesses, superior piece placement, exposed king. And then something is bound to happen when you have that knight against that bishop, right? You see the superiority of the knight. The knight ends up essentially just winning the bishop. Pretty cool, huh?
That's very cool.
So let's see.
It was a pretty good game.
Yeah. Now that was the first win. So actually, well, we could take a look at this in a minute to see how Harrwitz beat him. Harrwitz actually did beat him with the Philidor in the previous game. So he certainly got his revenge. He beat him in 40 moves, then he beat Morphy in 40, then Morphy beat him in 35, and then Morphy beat him in 48 in the next one. Then he uses it in 2 blindfold games. Then he plays Harrwitz. There's another game against Harrwitz, and he beats him. Then he also beats this, was it Montgardian or something? I guess he was playing in France or something. So which one do you guys want to see next? You guys want to see one more like the next win and then look at the loss? The other one's actually a
Sure.
So Harrwitz was a pretty good opponent, though. He lasted 59 moves in the other one. And then this other guy, Montgardian, he only lasted 30 moves. But let's see the next one. See, we have to see what Harrwitz came up because what he came up with, because obviously, he did his homework. He did like his prep with his team, I guess, and try to come up with a better response in round 3. So it's like, all right, you got one, I got one. Now let's see if I could break the tie and get best out of 3 with this Philidor's defense. So
hey David, I'm going to be heading out.
You're gonna head out?
My lunch break is about to end.
Okay.
Thank you for the presentation.
Oh, absolutely, Malcolm. We're glad you could drop by for a little bit, and we'll take a look at your games. I'm looking forward to seeing your games at Marshall Chess Club.
Oh, likewise. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Have a good one. Take care. Okay, so we have so pretty much D4 is the thing to do. Actually, Morphy's win over the Duke and the Count was from the same opening, but the Duke and the Count went Bishop G4. Maybe you guys recall that. We had Bishop G4 in that game. So pawn takes pawn. He's doing this thing again. That's very interesting. I before studying the Harrwitz games, I didn't even know about this move because this is the main move. But this is a really
Right.
cool line. I like that a lot. So this time he said, okay, no knight c6 and getting pinned. This time I will go knight f6. That's his attempted improvement. Let's see what Morphy has for this. He's hitting him right. It's like, well, you thought you had something?
He's like,
He's like,
wow.
well, we'll see. I'm just gonna smash the center open. Okay, he's going for a queenless middle game. Okay, let's see what he can squeeze out of this. Seems like black is fine. Looking at this from the black perspective, think, all right, no problem. I got 2 pieces out. I did have to move my king though. I can always go c6, king c7, very typical motif. Knight c3, bishop d6, knight c4. Interesting. So he's provoking his opponent to take, give up the bishop pair, and have a tempo on f7 and tie him down, or he's just trying to get the bishop pair and mess up Harrwitz's pawn structure. So either way, it looks pretty good for him. He does get it. So basically, I don't think I like bishop d6. Then maybe I like this move better, something like that. Challenge the knight. Or maybe if we're talking about getting the king out of the way, does this work? Probably there are a few improvements. Well, bishop c4 is coming on the next move. So I think knight bd7 to challenge the knight. I like that move. Maybe I'm sure he would have something good against that as well. But this is a really nice move. Says, okay, you're attacking me. I'm countering you. I'm not threatening to win a piece, but I'm threatening to get a better position by getting the bishop pair. I mean, it's a wide open game. He was famous for those open games. You just move your D and E pawns.
Yeah.
E and D pawns, you trade them off, and your pieces fly around. So now we'll see his command with the bishop pair. Okay.
Surprised black traded the bishops.
Yeah, I mean, after bishop here, what's he going to do? Otherwise, he has to suck it up and be like, well, I shouldn't have moved my bishop to d6. I mean, I guess he can say, look, I mean, I spent a move developing my bishop. You spent a move attacking my bishop. I spend one more move with my bishop. And effectively, I've just spent one move developing my bishop, and your knight has moved somewhere else. So I guess he could have
Yeah.
sucked it up and just gone like here or something. What would happen here? That's probably playable. It's a little uncomfortable, but again, if it were me, I want C. Oh, that's the thing. You know what it was? I think he wanted c6, but he was looking out for bishop f4 on the diagonal or something like that. Even so, there could be like knight h5, so you might want to play like bishop f4 and h3 type of thing to keep that sniper there. Because I mean, think about it. Where else is the black king going to go? If he's on c8, he's blocking the rook. You can't go a5, rook a6 because the bishop takes. So black has a really hard time coordinating his pieces here. And as we see, the great players like this always find a way to coordinate their pieces. You just had a feel for it. You coordinate your pieces and at the same time sort of create dysfunction in their position, right? So rook e8 check, bishop e3. All right, well now we could already anticipate his opponent doing the same thing to him with knight g4, right? That's interesting. Knight g4, maybe either he takes f7 or he just like he just develops like castles maybe. Maybe he would even just castle and say, you know what, you go ahead. Just there's that rook on d1 again, right? You go ahead and take me. If you want to take me out here, I can go after your bishop now with knight b5 or something, or I can get my pawn back and a beautiful position for white results, right? Pieces are completely backward, king's in the way. So white's nearly winning this, I think. No issues at all with the white position, right? Let's see. That's interesting though. He didn't even attempt knight g4. So he's trying. Oh, he did rook e8. He's castling by hand. Smart idea. What does he do about this? Bishop g5 looks a little funny because he's going to move a check, but that might be a move. Otherwise, you just probably castles queenside even. That's what my prediction would be. Just castle queenside. Yeah, we know he likes that here, right? Because you have this beautiful piece placement. Nice bishop pair. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's got 4 pieces out. He's castled. His opponent has 3 pieces out. He's not castled yet, right? And even when he goes to f8, you'd rather be on g8 than f8. It's like usually when you castle queenside, you see Karpov spending that move to tuck his king away to b1. Now we're not in a regular middle game. We're in kind of a queenless middle game here. Usually, let's say you trade queens right away. It's a queenless middle game. We've traded one other knight, but we're still pretty much in a queenless middle game. So there is attacking potential for both sides. Oh, there you go. There's that pin. But he just did the pin after castling to not mess around with like king move check and have to move his king or something. So now if the king goes back, he's going to destroy the pawns potentially. Makes sense. The knight protects it. Doesn't give him a chance. See that? Very nice. So he's hitting the bishop. He can also give him an isolated d pawn to work with and 2 bishops, bishop pair. Also, yeah, he's going to force some doubling. Because if the king goes away, you just take it with the knight takes, bishop could take, pawn takes. He'll get opposite color bishops, though. He has to think about whether he wants the opposite color bishops. Let's see how he handles this. Nope, he doesn't. Yeah, let's say, yeah, I mean, now he's kind of forcing the liquidation. So rather than taking and getting opposite color bishops and getting nothing, he takes this way instead. So he gets the knight versus bishop versus knight. Yeah, if he had taken this, I think black's completely fine. Because now he just takes with the king comfortably. So what? His king's out, it's totally fine. No one's touching that king. You can always go back with g6 if he wants. But he actually wants to be out, right? So I don't see how white's going to try to win that game. That would be very hard to win. Black's fine. It's equal. So instead, he's like, well, let's create that imbalance. Let's take the bishop. He's just trying to squeeze something out of this, right? He's got a lot of pressure on him. His opponent's, there's a small window of opportunity before his opponent wiggles out, right? Beautiful centralization, take, and superiority. See that? He's got a superior position now. Slightly, no, it's pretty significant actually. Got a much better bishop than knight. His rook's already out. His opponent's rook isn't out, and he's fractured the central / queenside pawns, right? So much more comfortable like this. The moment the c pawn has to take on d6, we've got that isolated pawn. Now, if you're playing against an isolated d pawn, you want to trade off minor pieces generally. You want to trade down and target it. In this case, rolling left with one set of minor pieces, one set of rooks. So we could try to target the pawn. Now, it's not easy. Let's say we both had a bishop, it would be real tough. But our superiority of the bishop over the knight is pretty clear here. And let's see how he outplays him. But he could start pressing. Now we're seeing his endgame play. But I mean, really, this guy was a genius, right? He was not just an attacking genius. He was clearly a positional genius and an endgame genius across the board. Okay, so he tucks his bishop back, keeps his eye on a b7 and d6. Can't move the knight away. Look at that.
Yeah, there's really been no tactical play in any of this. It's all been just positional and trading down. And
yeah. But this is a game where he's kind of just always trying to squeeze something out of the position. Well, he chose to trade queen, which made it a little bit milder. But he's like, look, he's trying to get something out of it. Now, he could have certainly just, developed like bishop c4 and castled. Maybe he didn't like a bishop g4 or something like that. Because after this line with bishop d7, he knows the bishop's going to be on c6, and that cramped black actually. So this time he's probably like, I'm going to go to g4. Okay. But he's always squeezing. So, well, the first thing is that the king had to stay in the center. Second thing is he's going for the bishop pair / he's hitting d6, maybe f7. He's just squeezing whatever he can out of it. Rapid development still. But there's kind of some ideas here with tactics / positional threats of like doubling pawns and stuff. So he's actually using the tactic of the pin. A lot of pressure here in the centralized king in order to try and double his opponent's pawn. He doesn't get that, but at the end of the day, with his pressure, it ends up yielding him a better bishop over knight, as you can clearly see right now. Why did he not? Oh, he didn't give him time. He can't take with the rook because he would have picked up a clean pawn. Check doesn't do anything. So he took back with a knight, and then Morphy gets this beautifully placed bishop with the tempo, tucks it back so the knight can't move without taking the d pawn. And I don't know about if the king were to come out. The king will probably come out anyway. But then he makes this subtle move c3. That's interesting. Maybe he wants to bring his king up or something. It's also possibly kind of a waiting move. Looks like he wants to bring his king up. It is that he does the check. King comes up. Nice and tidy, right? And white's just better. It's not like it's completely winning or something, but he's just going to grind him. So Bobby Fischer would play the exact same kind of thing, I could see Fischer playing this game and outplaying his opponent with the bishop against the knight and better pawn structure. That's interesting. Using the warrior king. He's provoking him. He's making him work. I mean, look, if you don't do anything, he's just going to sneak his way in and just make the rook move and win the b pawn, or just win it right away. That's crazy. If you go b6, you soften yourself up, right? If you don't go b6, the king comes in. Amazing, huh?
Yeah.
He does go lesser of two evils. He goes b6. Okay, now he's going to press him. You can always bring your king back and move the other pawns. Okay, he wants to go h5. You go h4. Now this is interesting. He actually, even though it looks like it's guarded and everything, but he's fixing weaknesses on light squares potentially. So if he allows the pawn to go to h4, it will no longer be a target. So for example, later on, let's say you get to take the base of the pawn chain, whether it's f7, you push it, you take g6, and h5 will fall next. That's why it would be considered the
Yeah.
good bishop. Let's say we had bishop against bishop and black had the light squared bishop. We had the better bishop. The light squared bishop wouldn't be able to attack any of white's pawns, but white would be looking at black pawns rather. So that's an issue though. It still is an issue. You can also play f3. Let's say you go back to play f3, g4 sometimes too. Look at how calm he is. Just cool, calm, and collected, right? Just coming up, pressure, pressure, pressure. Really has that understanding for the game, right? Just across the game. Pressure, cat and mouse. He's kind of cat and mousing him a little bit, isn't he? With this.
Mhm.
And then now he can push the queenside pawns. There's your queenside pawn play. That's interesting. Now, why do you think he chose to trade down? He's liquidating into the rook and pawn game at this point. What do you think he sees next? Why does he want
I think with this king, he's going to be able to take out the A, or support a pass pawn on A or B file or C file. Even.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be incredibly difficult for black to deal with this queenside. It's basically a queenside attack, right? He's been building this. He's going to finish his queenside attack in the end game with the king.
Yeah.
And then if he ever takes, the rook can use the C file. In the meantime, the king is tied to the F pawn. I guess he could lash out with G5 or something. He can try G5. He probably will.
There it is.
Yeah. That's interesting. So he ignores him. Now the question is, okay, what's going to happen when the pawn takes and he tries to take the G pawn? He's made the calculation that he can maybe give him even 2 pawns. Well, the thing is, you can always go to H3 easily, right? Let's say you give him a pawn or two, and you've taken these guys. Well, you got an A and B pawn running very quickly.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You just got to worry about the black rook.
That's the assessment he's made. So the rook decides not to do it, but it's probably just pure calculation here. If the rook had taken here, well, first of all, it's just general assessment. So we're going to have 3 against 4, but the fourth pawn is doubled. You can always come over and cover it. But in the meantime, black is not even threatening to push. So he's not even giving him this. Yeah, but it's 4 against 3. But these, look at the 3. He's got 2 out of the 3 are connected past pawns. Blacks are all fragmented pawns. They're all fractured. Check. Okay, we can zigzag. Oh, that's a good move. So at least he tries to bring his king in. Checks him. Doesn't fall for the bait of taking f7. He checks him. Let's see what he has in mind. Interesting. So he's calculating an endgame. That's interesting. He's assessing different endgames.
Like to lose his B pawn.
Yeah, if the rook takes the B pawn, see if he checks him. He can force a trade. You see that? But a favorable trade into the king and pawn endgame. He's got 3 against 2, but they're too slow. See what happens? Did he take? Yeah, he did. I'm thinking, I think I see a move here that would force a favorable king and pawn endgame. You guys see that?
Yes.
What is it, Leia?
Oh, yeah.
Leia, what do you say?
About what specifically?
Well, conceptually or tactically? And or maybe one of you guys can say one or the other.
Oh, well, black has it has doubled pawns on the H file, obviously, and I think those are harder to defend against because especially when you have the rook, once it goes on the H file as well, it just eats them up with no recourse.
That's if you're playing the rook and pawn game. How about, okay, what else do you think?
I see something.
You see a tactic now? That's conceptual. Tactical, we also have to consider that always think about what a king and pawn endgame looks like in every endgame, anywhere you are. If you want to see really deep, you don't even have to calculate. You could be coming right out of the opening. And you could think about the pawn, some pawn structural imbalances occur. Say to yourself, what does a king and pawn endgame look like? That's a really advanced strategy you can do. What does the bare bones situation look like here? And then if you know it favors you, if you assess that it favors you, you say, okay, I'm going to liquidate. My first chance, I'm going to liquidate. Because anytime you have the ability to liquidate, well, that's like a threat. right? Every time you're trying to trade, it's a threat if you think it favors you. Maybe they don't even know it's a threat because you're you're basically seeing 15 moves ahead or something, but you're not necessarily counting. I go here, they go here, I go here, they go here. I'm thinking I want to liquidate. I'm going to do it any way I can in order to get the king and pawn endgame. So the question now is, does the king and pawn endgame win for you? Let's just it depends where the kings are exactly, but let's just say the rooks are gone. Do you think we can win this?
Yeah.
I
How would we
think
win
yes,
that?
it might take a while to get the king over though.
Okay, well, Dave, do you see anything concretely? Is there a tactic? So first we talk about
Yeah.
the concept. What's a tactic potentially, Dave? There might be two ways to do it. I think one way
I
might be
think
easier.
I think to get to just the king pawn endgame, right? You got to trade off the rooks, and the best move I see for white, because it's white's move here, would be d4 check,
Nice and clean. Nice and clean. It's
and
forcing.
then take.
Yep, he did it.
Yeah,
It's a decoy. So he's basically skewering him. He's hanging the rook, but it's a skewer, so you have to take it. Otherwise, you win the rook.
right.
So you look through it. It's a skewer that does hang the rook, but when you effectively end up decoying the king, taking it, and anytime he goes up, you know those puzzles where you keep going up, right?
Yeah,
He goes
yeah.
up, you
You're
go
going to
up, he goes
promote on
up,
the
you
A
shoulder,
file.
you get that B7 control, shoulder wherever you need to go. But if he doesn't come up, just push. But every time the king tries to go up, you just shoulder him out. Boom, get your queen. He could resign soon. He's gonna try something, or he's gonna try to shove the F pawn and push the H pawn, but way too slow. Oh, interesting. He probably didn't even need it, but he doesn't want to mess around with it. He's slowing him down even further. By H3, just take it. Let's say if he had gone A5, F4, A6, F3, A7. Oh, that actually is interesting. You know,
That's a problem. Yeah, you've got
yeah,
to
he found
play
that
F3.
F4. Maybe he needed F4 or F3. Interesting.
He could have played just F3, I think.
Probably one or the other, but it's like if you could get away with, like, I don't need to be modest. I'm just going to shove my pawn, stop your pawn in its tracks, and maybe he resigns. No, he's going to play it out. I mean, hey, he's hoping that he can, challenge the queen and get a queen himself, or trying to get stalemate.
I
Or
think it
something.
makes it harder.
Yeah, he's got to try. It's actually kind of complicated, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why I was saying. I don't know.
Well, now we're going to see his endgame prowess. So what's going to
Yeah.
happen now? Okay, he's going to try and push. It's interesting because you're not going to stalemate him.
I think you're going to sacrifice your queen and then win another, maybe.
That's one way of doing it, potentially. It's not so easy
Like,
to just sack it, though. He resigned. Okay, what if he pushes the pawn?
well, you could play queen takes H5. And then if he promotes, you sack. Queen takes, king takes, so the black king's on H1,
Mm-hmm.
and then the white king heads over and takes the black pawn
You get
and
you get
promotes.
there first, and when you come over, you because you're first, you're guarding your pawn. So, like, let's say he pushes, you're saying just grab the pawn and just keep it simple and take the pawn. And he goes and you just liquidate. Okay, you trade it down, and then you come here, he comes over, you come here, he comes over. Wait a second.
Oh, maybe you don't.
Trebuchet. Trebuchet. Boom. Wait. Yes. No, wait. Hold on. It's not that simple. Wait. He goes to G4. He's
Oh,
getting
maybe you
trebuchet.
don't.
Wait a second.
Oh, so you lose that.
Hold on.
You need to throw it in like an analysis board or something,
Let's
because
see.
that's a
Wait, push. I was thinking of this move, maybe.
yeah,
Check.
throw in a check.
Make him go in front of the pawn. Look, you're gonna win a move. So that's what I was thinking of going here. Now you come over. This C4, C5. When he pushes,
Then you do
you
it.
take, but you just won yourself a move because you made him go in front of his pawn. One or two moves have been won. Takes. He goes over. You ignore him also. You let him queen. Takes. Now he's over here. He's in the corner. Game over. Yeah, you actually gain two
So you got to
moves.
throw in that check.
Yeah, you can waste one more move, but you gain two moves anyway. So
What if he goes? Yeah,
then he goes up, and then you take the pawn, then you move and you push. Right. That's interesting, huh?
right.
So you have to be precise till the end. But I guess his opponent had enough faith that Morphy was going to calculate that much correctly, given how much
Yeah.
insane calculation he had already done. That's interesting though, that it wasn't just a foregone conclusion at the very end. There was still a little bit of work to be done. It wasn't just like, okay, I'm getting a queen. So meaning that he probably yeah, meaning for sure when he already saw this variation from here, because again, he just has to imagine what that's going to look like. And obviously he's such a great calculator, but if he just imagines where the pieces are going to be, he can calculate from that point, right? But so
Yeah.
for example, he could just imagine okay. For example, he probably didn't even need that rook check. He probably could have pushed or something too, right? There are probably multiple ways to win that because if the king comes and he checks, he can. But I think he's like, look, I kind of know what he's gonna. I want the D pawn, right? We take the D pawn, and I
Right.
kind of like, no, look, he can either look if he wants to check here, I can block and trade down and win. But if he does, yeah, he kind of probably sensed that he was going to do this. And he's like, okay, I know I can cash in. You got to look at F5 though. Like that almost works for black, interestingly enough. So you have to actually calculate that. And if you calculate that it doesn't work, then you have to wait on that. Can't so for example, maybe then if you thought this whole thing didn't work, then maybe you wouldn't let him do this. But I think that was kind of, it could be intuition too. Like, look, I have two connected passed pawns. You should theoretically well over 90% chance that you're going to win this position, right? So you could kind of use your intuition there and not be totally precise as a mere mortal, not being
Yeah.
Morphy, right? So
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Couldn't he have played right
Yeah,
there?
maybe.
Whoops.
What's that?
That F4 move? The
If he
right.
hadn't done, if he had done like F3
If he
instead or something?
played F3, what happens?
So if he had gone F3 instead, let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, so with the F4 line, the king came and took anyway, right? What's the difference?
Yeah. Now you just push your A pawn. Oh, but your pawn's kind of
transpose
okay.
or something? Is it almost transpose?
I don't know. Now you can throw in a check.
Okay, so take here. Well, yeah, I think you could play Queen H2. Let's see. I don't know, which one do you do? Let's say
Yeah, but then you lose the pawn.
We can, do we zigzag over? Let's get closer. Yeah, let's do this. Can zigzag in. We could kind of repeat this thing.
I guess I thought it was going to be easier, but it's really not. It's the same.
Okay, wait, hold on. Wait,
that's right where we were.
Is not the one that we want, right? Well, let's look at what I think this is the one we didn't want, right?
Right.
Here, and then we are in trouble. Trebuchet.
Yeah.
And then white loses. White loses, yeah, because he shoulders his king out.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So F4 was the move, not F3. Okay.
Yeah. You can always do this just to make sure. But yeah. So interesting. Well, let's look at that position and see whether if you put F3 in. What was the difference in the game? Let's see real quick. That's an interesting question. So he ends up, because in the line we looked at, he played F3, then F4 with check, but he still moved the F pawn twice.
Right.
So he didn't need to be, he's like, I'm just going to keep it simple. And he resigns. So again, it's push. Okay, let's say he had done this one and you take. So it's actually forking the pawns. Funny, he is actually forking him here. Because the idea is that you're going to get rid of both of them. But when he pushes, let's insert this check. It's very important. Let him go here. Now it would be a stalemate, but it's not a stalemate because he still has one move. So we get this movement for free. We make him move. Can we do anything else here? It's easier. But I know we're cashing in. Sometimes if you had your king closer, you can go back, or you can like give him a free move and set up your mate. But here you just do this. Again, don't take right away. Let him spend that extra move because he's going to be farther from the center. He's going to be farther from, or more in the corner. Yeah, farther from the center. Then you win.
Yeah, game over.
Amazing, huh?
Interesting. Yeah, I always get nervous if I get in those games where I have one pawn up and I have a queen, but they're about to queen. Those are really sometimes tough to convert.
Oh
It
yeah,
feels
yeah.
like.
You have to be precise. Of course, you want to make it as simple as possible. You want to make it
Right.
jump as clean as possible. But Paul Morphy, wow, all around player. There's also a game I did a blog on this once where he wins with an isolated pawn, but it's very he uses the isolated pawn in a very active way. So my argument was like, just because you have an isolated, no, sorry, it's playing against the isolated pawn. Just because you're playing against the isolated D pawn of the Isolani doesn't mean you have to be kind of passive. You know, there's a lot of times you just kind of got to tighten up and blockade the pawn, but he actually attacks against it. So it's a very, I did a blog on it somewhere. I could pull it up later. But yeah, it's just a game I came across. So anyway, really enjoyable to watch his games, isn't it?
Yeah, very fun.
Just
Interesting.
on a whole other level. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, guys, I'll stop the recording on that.
That's great stuff.